men and women of the FBI will leave no stone unturned in this investigation.
Finally, hearing from the feds.
I think the scope and scale of this investigation in these cases are really unprecedented.
Dozens charged, hundreds of arrests still to come for those who rioted in our nation's Capitol building.
Plus, waiting for action from the Vice President on the 25th Amendment. And new guidance from the CDC on who can receive the vaccine right now.
As Governor Polis lays out a clearer timeline for distributing vaccines in Colorado.
Our main goal is to vaccinate 70% of Coloradans 70 and up by February 28th.
The charges are serious and major: sedition and conspiracy. It's been 6 days since the riot at our nation's Capitol building, and for the first time, we are now hearing from federal officers about the attack. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for Denver7 News at 5. I'm Ann Trujillo.
And I'm Shannon Ogden. And today, the Justice Department filed its first grand jury indictments against 2 suspects. We know of 70 people now facing felony charges, and the acting U.S. Attorney for Washington added another 170 cases have been opened. Now, also, more than 100,000 tips have been sent to the FBI through social media, and thanks to that, they say hundreds more are expected to be charged.
We have literally thousands of potential witnesses and a scenario in which we're going to have, I believe, hundreds of criminal cases, both filed with our local courts, the Superior Court, and through the federal court system. So just to frame things, the enormity of this investigation is going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort, and this is not going to be solved overnight.
DOJ added that people are going to be shocked, this is a quote, with the egregious acts that took place at the Capitol, and they are working to arrest everyone responsible. Now, as is happening nationwide, the FBI and Denver police are monitoring planned protests at our state Capitol building. In a new statement, DPD says they are aware there will be 2 possible demonstrations in the coming days leading up to the inauguration. Police say they are accepting any tips on suspicious behavior, and please give them a call if you see or hear anything.
Also, right now, we are waiting for House lawmakers to vote on a resolution calling on Vice President Mike Pence and a majority of the Trump cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment. If that doesn't happen, next step is a vote to impeach. And as of tonight, at least 3 House Republicans have signed on. And one of them, Representative Liz Cheney, third in command in the House GOP, and the daughter of former Vice President Dick Cheney. In her statement, she says the president could have immediately and forcefully intervened to stop the violence. He did not. She added that there has never been a greater betrayal by a president of the United States of his office and his oath to the Constitution, which is why she says she is voting to impeach. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze joins us now live from D.C. And Elizabeth, all of this is happening. Meanwhile, the president is instead in Texas talking about his border wall.
That's right, Ann. Well, as the House moves closer to this historic second impeachment, the president is standing by his comments to the crowd of pro-Trump rioters who stormed the Capitol. In his first public appearance since the deadly attack on the Capitol last week, President Trump defiant and taking no responsibility for the insurrection. The House is expected to vote as soon as tomorrow to impeach the president for inciting violence against the government of the United States after he made these comments January 6th.
I'm going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness.
But Trump telling reporters today,
people thought that what I said was totally appropriate.
Yet his actions that day have been widely criticized. House lawmakers are now debating a resolution calling on Vice President Mike Pence to strip Trump of his powers by invoking the 25th Amendment, which requires a majority of the cabinet.
I urge Vice President Pence to do the right thing.
Yet some Republicans who voted not to certify President-elect Joe Biden's victory, even after the siege of the Capitol by pro-Trump rioters, are still making baseless claims of voter fraud.
The rules were changed in unconstitutional fashion.
The FBI is now raising the alarm about more threats, saying armed protests are being planned at all 50 state capitals leading up to Inauguration Day, January 20th. This as field agents comb through videos, images, and some 45,000 tips to try to track down thousands of the Capitol rioters. Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, Washington. Now, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says anyone who was part of the mob that attacked the Capitol last week should be placed on a TSA no-fly list. Reporting live in Washington, Elizabeth Schulze, Denver7 News.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you so much for that. Now, 3 Democratic lawmakers have now tested positive for COVID-19 after having to flee the House floor to a safe room during the Capitol invasion. Many lawmakers say during Wednesday's riot, other lawmakers and staffers were seen at times not wearing a mask. So now, starting tonight, there are fines for those not wearing a mask. $500 will be taken from lawmakers' pay for the first offense. Second offense bumps the fine up to $2,500.
Well, the CDC is now requiring all international passengers be tested for the virus before they board a flight to the U.S. The new mandate requires a negative test before departure, a 7-day quarantine when someone arrives to the U.S., and then another test 3 to 5 days after arriving. This order goes in place in 2 weeks. That is on January 26th. Also today, the CDC announced that states should open vaccinations up to those 65 and older to speed up the distribution process. It is still up to each state to decide when those under 70 can get the first dose. And Governor Polis laying out exactly how the first round of doses are getting out to those 70 and older.
Denver7's Jessica Porter is joining us live now. And Jessica, the governor also said we're about to get a big boost in available vaccine doses.
Yes, Ann and Shannon, those new doses could arrive as soon as next week. The rollout of vaccines to our most vulnerable population has been met with confusion, frustration, and disappointment. Today, the governor spoke with 3 major hospital partners, UC Health, Centura Health, and Salute Clinics, to break down how people can get the vaccine and what is planned in the week ahead.
Governor Polis says once we get through this phase of vaccinations, we will see a significant reduction in deaths. He's projecting those 70 and older will be vaccinated by February 28th.
The reason for that is 78% of our deaths are people aged 78 and up, and about 40% of our hospitalizations.
About 50% of the vaccine is going to hospitals, 20% to public health agencies, 10% to pharmacies like Walgreens and CVS, and 20% to community health clinics to help underserved populations.
Those who are uninsured, those who lack proper documentation, those who don't have another way of paying for their medical services.
Colorado is receiving about 70,000 vaccines a week. An additional 23,000 doses will arrive next week because Operation Warp Speed is behind and releasing some vaccines until they catch up.
We continue to advocate for the federal program to accelerate vaccinations for nursing homes, long-term care facilities. That is the only piece that is not under state coordination and state management.
Centura Health says they now have 35 vaccination clinics and can vaccinate 9,000 people a week. They rolled out their patient portal to vaccinate those 70 and older today. UC Health has 11 clinics and can do 5,000 vaccines a day. At the end of the month, they're planning a mass drive-through vaccination clinic in Denver.
If you are a patient of UC Health, you will automatically get an invitation in a randomized fashion to schedule a vaccine appointment. If you are not a patient of UC Health, you can go to uchealth.org and push the COVID-19 button and register.
And the governor says an announcement is coming on how Colorado will implement new CDC guidelines opening vaccines to those 65 and older. And we have a list of the many providers vaccinating those 70 and older on our website, thedenverchannel.com. Reporting live, Jessica Porter, Denver7.
Expired tags and plates.
Colorado towing companies targeting cars left and right.
It seems like they're holding our car hostage.
Drivers say they're being unfairly targeted.
And it just hurts me that people think that it's okay.
Now Contact Denver7 is pushing the governor for answers.
This should not be happening in Colorado, and we strongly discourage predatory practices.
And should standardized tests be a thing of the past, especially in this pandemic? One district is taking a stand.
Hey, some milder temperatures for right now, but also I'll bring the next chance for snow.